Now, welcome to another in the Survivor Series. You're looking at a 1996 Mustang GT with only 35,000 kilometers on the clock. And often when I do these older cars, I always talk about how I test drove them back in the day. Well, this car absolutely takes me back to ground zero. Now, I started reviewing cars a long time ago in 1992. But the very first car I ever did for video, for television, for a show called Street Test on Delta Cable here in Vancouver, was this car. In 1994, the introduction of the brand new Mustang GT, and that's when I had a chance to drive this car. So it's kind of going back all the way to the very beginnings of my first experience with video in cars. So a lot of fun. This is a 96 version. These cars replaced the Fox Body Mustangs that were very popular and made for about 15 years. This design came out in 1994 and went until the early 2000s. A bit polarizing in its design. Of course, those Fox Body cars were so chiseled and muscular. This much more rounded, but trying to be modern for the era of the early 90s. They went from a 302 V8 to a modular V8. This one has the 4.6 liter. We'll get into the engine in just a little bit. So this is an era of Mustang, especially the GT, that's often overlooked by collectors, which offers an opportunity for value. If you're somebody that likes to buy a fun car, don't want to spend a lot of money, this is not a bad place to play. By the way, a big shout out to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver for letting me borrow this for the day. It's easy to remember the website. It's correct..com. You can look in the description below for the link if you want to find out about this car or any of the other cool cars he always has for sale. So the one you're looking at here does have a few modifications. The wheels are not the original wheels, but they are coming with the car. These are Mustang wheels that have spacers that have been put on. I think they look quite good. They're bigger than the stock wheel that came with this 1996. The exhaust has been modified as well. Under the hood, there's a cold air intake. Going back in time, let's get in this Mustang GT. Some of you might not know what this is. This is a wind up and wind down window. I don't mean to be facetious, but it is kind of true. My kids, I used to have an old Volkswagen Vanagon, and when my kids were little, they loved to jump in and out of it because they got to wind up the windows. They thought that was so cool. And look at these seats. It's like a Harris tweed jacket on the inside and super comfortable. And I cannot believe that somebody drove this car 1,400 kilometers a year. And it's got 35,000 kilometers on it, so someone's barely driven it. And when you look at it on the inside, typically a lot of this harder plastic you see on the inside of these cars would scratch. It's all immaculate. The seats are in perfect condition. It's even got the original radio. Some modifications have been done, as I mentioned. You've got a Hurst shifter, but the regular shifter comes with this car. And as I mentioned, the regular wheels for this car also come with it. And it's got a fuel pressure gauge that's been added here on the column of the steering wheel. I'd probably just leave that, maybe take it out, I don't know. Now just think about buying a Mustang GT today and how much they cost and all the features you get in it. I kind of like this stripped down. I get to drive all these brand new cars all the time, but I actually find these older cars kind of more fun. They're different. And this one is impeccable. I say that about every one of these Survivor cars I get into. I can never understand why someone would buy this car and not drive it. No one's been driving it for all these years, barely anyway. So let's start this thing up. You're gonna notice something. Yeah, the exhaust has been modified. Okay, Hurst shifter, first gear, let's go. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Let's go and do the tunnel test right now. Okay, we're coming up to the tunnel. First thing we gotta do is roll down the windy windows. Why does that never get old doing that? It's like such a kid thing to do. Make a lot of noise. Let's do it again. Here we go. Okay, it's cold out. Let's put the window up. Cool, right? So with this era of Mustang, they went from the good old pushrod 302 V8 to what they call a modular V8. So this is a 4.6 liter modular because it could be shared, the components with different divisions from Mercury to Lincoln, different heads they would put on the engine. So this is a multi-valve engine. I think it was used with 2 valves, 3 valves, and 4 valves. And that depended on which division was using the engine. It's got a 5-speed manual transmission. The shifts are fairly long, but it's easy to drive. I kind of like the shifter, the Hurst shifter. That's easy to use. Here's what's shocking about the auto industry is how much progress is being made. So this is a V8 equipped Mustang GT with 215 horsepower. I believe the current Mustang GT has 460 horsepower. Now this is an amazing accomplishment. But you know what? All of that's true, but it comes at a cost. The Fox Body Mustangs have gone way up in value. Those are the sort of the square one, the predecessor, the 3rd generation, have certainly shot up in value. And will this one follow? Well, probably will eventually. And these really offer a lot of value for somebody that wants just a fun car that makes all the right noises and has that muscle car, you know, Mustang feel to it. This car is based on the same platform as the Fox Body cars, but it was modified to get better handling and compliance in the suspension, which is what they worked on. New front suspension, still a solid axle in the back, but modifications were made to make it handle better. What I like about this modular engine is it's a really free revving engine. Doesn't feel constrained, it revs easily. Now compared to a modern Mustang that has independent rear suspension, that came out in 2015, these older Mustangs certainly don't handle the way that those new cars do, but that's part of the intrigue and part of the appeal and part of it being period correct, is that it isn't that. It's something different. It's a little bit more raw and visceral. So what do you guys think? Do you think this 4th generation Mustang era could be a future collectible? Right now the prices don't indicate that. And that's why it offers an opportunity for somebody to buy a car like this and not have to spend a lot of money. Even one like this that's got such low miles or kilometers on it, somebody's going to get this car for very little money, but they're going to get a lot of car. It's had some nice upgrades done to it. It certainly is impeccable shape, but you don't have to break the bank to buy it and to run it. Is that going to be the future of this 4th generation Mustang? Will people turn to these because they want to get something that is fun, but isn't too expensive? Answer that. Riddle me that. Thanks again to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver for letting me have this car for the day. For me, it's going right back to the very beginning. My very first video review I ever did was on this car, and here we are all those years later. I'm getting older, these cars are getting older, but you know, hopefully we've all aged well. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.